Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Fred and I are glad you're joining us today. We just received from Stitch.ly through Amazon their cross-stitch box, and so we thought we would unpack it with you, show you what you get, and tell you all the things that are in it, along with providing you some basic information on how to get yours, where to get yours, and hopefully this will give you a lot of good information on whether or not this is something you would like to purchase. So as I mentioned, this company has these boxes pre-packaged and distributed through Amazon, so you can actually get this fairly quickly. I think I had this delivered to the house probably in less than a week. I'm not a Prime member, but this particular item is Prime eligible because it is coming from Amazon, not from the company themselves. But I wanted to show, first of all, because a lot of the people who I noticed went through their boxes had already removed the plastic wrap, which I thought was actually kind of a nice touch. I hate the fact that we have a lot of plastic on this planet. That I don't really agree with, but particularly this time of year, we have really wet weather, and because this came from Amazon, it's just left on our porch, which does get a lot of wet weather on it. Like, it's not very sheltered. So I was actually kind of pleased to see that this came in really good condition, because we are about to enter spring and had this set out on the porch for a long period of time. I know the box from Amazon would have got wet, but I'm almost assured that this box itself would not. I mean, it just would have been, the plastic would have been damp. So that is something that I don't think a lot of people are covering, but I thought I would show that before I actually open the box. Again, just because others who I've watched here on YouTube have already removed that, haven't pointed that out, and I think to some people that's nice to know that when they get this, the box will be in as good a shape as it can be, without or with very little damage to it, especially during the wetter months. So I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to actually take the plastic off, and then from there we'll go through the contents of the box. Okay, so here is the box without the plastic wrap on it. Stitch.ly is a company out of Ireland. So for those of us that are like, I'm in the States, I'm in Texas, or any other country that has Amazon distribution, this actually, the fact that they've worked with Amazon to get these put in the warehouses so that they could be distributed all over the world, actually makes that quite nice. As I mentioned before, these are Prime eligible purchases, and in the description below, I will put the link directly to the item on Amazon, so that way you can check it out for yourself, the price and everything. But it also, I don't have a Prime membership, but I opted for the free shipping, and it did qualify, so that was kind of nice in and of itself, that even if you aren't a Prime member, if you don't mind waiting for it, if you're not in a hurry to get it, it is still free shipping eligible. You just have to pick a longer period of time, instead of getting it, in 2 days or 3 days. However, though, I did get this in maybe 4 or 5 business days. It was definitely within a week, so there was no lag on this delivery at all. So and just to show you the back, they list it as an embroidery kit, but from what I've seen online and what I think is in here, I believe the fabric is designed more for cross stitch than for embroidery, but we'll take a look here in a second, and then we'll be able to determine maybe there's a little bit of both. So let's open this up, and here is the contents of the box. These are the little plastic bobbins. You can purchase these like in a large, usually with like a large embroidery floss box kit, or you can buy these just by themselves, but obviously these are a couple of extra bobbins that they've included in the box. Here are some instructions, and this does say cross stitch guide, step-by-step instructions, so we'll look at that in a minute. But inside they've put, this is just a smaller scrap of what I believe to be 14 count, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. Yeah, what I believe to be 14 count Aida. It's real stiff like Aida. These hoops, which there's 2 larger and 1 smaller. The 2 larger ones are 6-inch, and then the smaller one is a 4-inch. Yeah. This one is a 4-inch, and the 2 6-inch hoops, and these are really nice. A lot of the ones you get at the craft shops are typically not as finished as these are. Like these have what I believe have been sanded and then maybe stained, so they actually have a really nice smooth finish to them. Some of the cheaper ones sometimes you find at the craft stores are, you know, just balsa wood, but they're unfinished, so you get splinters, you get your fabric hung up in the wood. So these are very, very nice hoops. Also with it, these are a pair of scissors, which these are actually kind of handy. I actually keep a pair like this, very similar, with my sewing machine. Because they're just very, they're just good for like just snipping, when you don't need a precise cut, you just need to snip something off, you know, a thread or whatever. These are actually really, really great. Then we'll go over also here in a minute, all of the floss, which I heard everybody talk, and they are correct. There is a ton of floss in this package. So for what you spend for this, the floss and the hoops alone probably make the make the money worth it. But we'll go over everything else. Here are the needles, 2 needles, along with, I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's a couple of actually threaders in here. That's what the pink ones are threaders, which is nice. So which means also that if you wanted to share this with a friend, or you wanted to purchase this for children in your family, you don't necessarily have to worry about if you have multiple people that want to work on these projects. You don't have just one set. I mean, you do have more than one set. So, and then they've provided some blank, again, 14 count Aida, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares that are 8 inches square. Oh, sorry, not 4. 5 8-inch square pieces. They've also included a pre-printed cross-stitch pattern, which back in the day, if you guys remember, gosh, it's probably been, you know, back in the 90s or 80s, they used to make cross-stitch, and they do still somewhat, but they aren't as popular, but cross-stitch kits that are pre-printed, just to kind of give you an example of stitching. There's probably something in the book about this particular piece as well, as far as maybe this is to help teach you how to cross stitch, along with learning how to grid, how to mark, because obviously this is gridded for every 10 stitches. So just to give you a rough idea, and then of course, you know, giving you the number and symbols to give you a rough idea of how patterns are designed as well. And then this little strip looks like it's 4x2, so there may be a pattern in the book, we'll look here in a minute, that utilizes this smaller piece of fabric. And as you can see, these are very like bright white, like almost, you know, like with like a blue tint, whereas this is more of like a an eggshell color. So there may be some intent to that as well. All right, so let me open up the package of floss. Hold on just a second, just so you don't have to deal with all the crinkle. Hold on. Okay, so floss. We've got several colors of yellow, and they have, I'll have to look here in a minute. I'm not familiar enough with DMC colors to know if these are actual DMC match colors or if these are their own number, coordinating numbers on the bobbins. But there's some oranges and yellows. Here's some reds and a pink. This one is kind of a silvery pale. It has a little bit of green to it. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's an ecru right there. Definitely some greens in here. There's another orange. And then there's some tan, copper, brown colors. There's another orange. Then there's, okay, so this one everyone's familiar with. This, I believe, is black. And DMC number black, or for black, is 310. So that one may actually be correct. Yes, I was going to say, in this, there is a red, a very bright red, that is that same number as well. So these numbers may actually match the DMC. What I'll do is, after I'm done going through this video, I will take a look at some of these colors and maybe post some pictures or a follow-up video at the end to kind of show you the DMC comparisons, because then maybe you have an idea of, you know, if you could substitute your own floss, like if you run out, or like I said, if you have several children in your home and you want to buy this as a kit for all of them to share, then that way you at least know exactly how much maybe you already have that you can actually help them. So, all right, so there's some black and gray, a couple of purples, a lot of blue, some green, an ecru, and then kind of a greenish pale color there, oranges and yellows, and then kind of some of your browns. So yeah, you definitely get a lot of floss. Most craft stores usually sell, you know, a typical skein for about 60 cents. So there's a good amount of floss that would get you started, get you going as far as stitching patterns, not only theirs but others as well. I think you probably have enough here that you could do some of your own designing. So let's talk about the book for a minute. Here's the book. This is it's basically a guide. Like, I think this is pretty much designed to show you how to cross stitch for the first time if you've never done it before, which I think there's just a brief explanation of what cross stitch is, what's included with your kit, some good explanations of your hoops, how they work, and the types of needles and the fabric, thread, the needle threaders, and then your snips as well. This is really nice. This literally breaks down how the thread is designed, how much thread you might need for any given project, how to, you know, when you do a cross stitch pattern, you don't necessarily use the entire 6 yards of thread while you're stitching. Usually you cut those down into smaller pieces, so this kind of gives you an idea of what a workable piece of thread length might be. This walks you step by step through the actual cross stitch process, starting with your first stitches, and then how to follow up with when you're at the end of a row or you're end of a color. These also show you, a lot of people I think kind of are hesitant about putting fabric or determining the size of fabric to use to put in a hoop. For those of us who stitch in hand, which means we don't use a hoop, or like I use a Q-snap, you usually figure out the size of your fabric, and then you determine, you know, either you stitch in hand so it doesn't matter, you just have a loose piece of fabric in your hand, or you pick your Q-snap or scroll frame based on the size of fabric you've cut for your project. So this is really kind of nice, because there are a lot of people, I think, that if they aren't sewing or stitching a large project, this at least gives them some idea of they've provided you 8-inch squares that normally fits within the larger 6-inch hoops. So that's a nice touch. A lot of people, I think, sometimes are scared to cut their fabric or aren't really sure if they wanted to do an object that they wanted to keep in the hoop as the way to hang it on the wall, or to, you know, leave it in the hoop as its own decoration or frame, what the appropriate size fabric is for their project. So that's a nice added feature. So then they go through and explain the rainbow, the pre-printed fabric, basically how to put it in your, you know, explain how to put it in the hoop, and then how to stitch it, how to, you know, go step by step through the colors and stitching. And then finishing it, like I said, if you're one of those that wants to keep your project in the hoop itself, how to display that project and how to finish it, which is really nice. Some people, I will add, this is a personal preference, I think. So a lot of people, what they do is that they basically running stitch the edge of their fabric and then cinch it back and then cover that with felt or fabric or something like that. So this is kind of another interesting method of finishing, by just trimming the excess fabric away, so that the hoop, I guess, provides, you know, just the backing open. But keep in mind too, you will see with doing that, you will see your raw stitches in the back as well. So okay, and then after that, they've just got some other patterns. A couple of parrots, a pair of giraffes. The parrots say, "You talking to me?" The giraffes say, "Here's looking at you, kid." There's a pair of elephants that say hello to my little friend. And one with fish that says, "Just keep swimming." And then the turtle design mentioned at the beginning, there's a section that explains how to get that bonus pattern through their club. And then they have some other products on Amazon as well, including this face and body paint, which, if you're interested, might be good come Halloween, or if you're a costume or art person, you know, you go to Comic-Con or you do a lot of video recordings, that kind of thing. So overall, my first impressions are this box is well worth the money. For just alone the floss that you get, the hoops, and the fabric, then like the bonus, the scissors, and needles and stuff. To me, that alone, they're basically giving you a custom cross stitch kit, plus with a few patterns to stitch. What I might do here, I don't know, down the road, is actually stitch a couple of the designs and just kind of see if the the stuff that they give you is enough to do all of it or just some of it. So maybe I'll do a follow-up video, or maybe in one of my cross-stitch regular episodes I'll show you a finished product and give you kind of my final thoughts on that. But up front, this is definitely a fantastic buy, particularly for anyone who is truly wanting to start to learn to cross stitch for the first time and thinks they don't want to spend a whole lot of money or don't want to go down a rabbit hole of not being able to make up their minds on what they would like to do. They would just like to give it a test drive and just see if it's something they would even like to consider picking up as a hobby. So I think this kit's great. I would love to hear what you guys think. If you've had any first impressions either with Stitch.ly, the company, or with the kit, if you purchased it also. The other thing I will add too is this really does provide someone a really good creative opening, because cross stitch, kind of like painting, is kind of one of those where you can follow the pattern, you can veer from the pattern, or you can create your own pattern. So I think that this is really nice because it gives you all the information and all the tools you need to follow their designs, or just go off on your own, but without having to buy any unnecessary tools or any unnecessary items that you see others use that maybe you don't need. This gives you everything that you need to pick up this hobby. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, here at the end, I'm gonna put some of this floss up against my DMC just to see if these are actual DMC colors or color compatible, and if these numbers that you see are actually DMC numbers. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did. Follow along on my regular channel. I basically do updates on all of my cross stitch projects, all of my things that I like to stitch on, but I also do knitting as well if you're into that. And we will see you guys later, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks. Okay guys, I just wanted to follow up with this quick little just kind of showing of the different colors that I got in the Stitchly box compared to my actual DMC that I have in my collection. So as you can tell, some of these colors, like this 608, is very starkly different. This is a much darker, brighter, closer to red orange, whereas their 608 is more of kind of a corally salmon orange. Same with their 970. This 970 is a very pumpkin, bright orange, darker orange, but their 970 is a lighter kind of version of that. There's a couple I'm sure I've just pulled, so I don't know about 741 and I don't know about 3822. Those two are probably in a kit somewhere, so I couldn't find them very accessibly, so I just kind of left them alone. 3855 is kind of another one. It's close, but it's not quite the same. Their 3855 is more of a peachy color. They're not that different, but they're different. And part of that too, it's kind of hard to tell. That's why I tried to put it up against this, so you could kind of see it up against a color. The 972, the DMC version's a bit darker. The 973 is actually really close, but again, the DMC version's a bit darker. The 725 is really close. The DMC is slightly darker, but not a whole lot. And the 742, same way. The DMC is slightly darker, but not a whole lot. So some of the colors, if you were to try to use them in your own projects, if you were trying to achieve the colors in the model stitched in the photos, would come out very, very different, but other ones not so much. It might be a little more subtle, a little less obvious if you used the colors in the Stitchly kit versus the DMC. So I will say it is nice that they at least put on their bobbins the closest associated DMC color. So if you say ran out of yours, you could grab one of these in a pinch. If you just needed a couple of feet to finish up a project. But with the A, knowing that this is like an alternate. That's a good way to phrase this. This is an alternate to this DMC 3855. It's close, but it's not quite the same. So I hope that helps. I didn't pull them all. This was the first grouping that when I started to pull them, I realized it was the most contrasty as far as color. The colors are bright enough and light enough that the contrast was a little more apparent. The reds, sometimes you don't get that way, greens, but everything has a contrast. So even if it's a subtle one. But I hope this helps, especially for any of you cross stitchers out there that you are into the craft quite a bit, but you were kind of curious as to before purchasing the kit as to if you were getting actual DMC or not. They're close, but they're not quite the same. They make no effort or no indication that these are DMC colors, so I don't want you to think that they're trying to pass them off as such. I just, for the purposes of information for this video, wanted you to be aware that the numbers correspond to DMC, but they are subtly different. So do not rely on them as a replacement if you're doing, if you're, like I said, especially if you're in the middle of a project and you want to, you've run out, can't get to the store, and you've got this kit. Don't just go thinking that you can subtly change some last minute, stitches for one of these, because they are just different enough that they would show up in a finished piece as different. So I hope this helps. I hope you guys again enjoyed this video, and I really appreciate you watching, and I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Bye.